Bimetal blade. This is our 18 TPI bimetal blade from Lennox. So it did do it, but this blade is now garbage. So, yeah, you can see what a new blade. Let's see if I've got it in there. See what a new blade looks like compared to. Oh well, you can see right there on the ends what new teeth look like, and then these are completely flat. Oh well, almost flat. They're not going to do very much cutting anymore. So did it cut it? Yeah. Is it going to cut it for very long? No. Okay, so we're going to put the Diablo bimetal blade through the same torture test we did the Lennox. This is going to be tool grade steel, 54 to 58 Rockwell hardness scale rating. So this is going to be pretty much twice as hard as our mild steel. So, once again, the same thing's happening. The teeth right there, you see they've lost all their points. They're not completely smooth, but it would make one cut. It's not going to make too many. And if you look over here at the steel, that's blued. That's incredible heat, and heat is going to be the #1 thing that is going to start breaking down your steel. So, will it do it? Yeah, but not for very long. These carbide grit blades, I just haven't had much time to try them out on stuff. So, I am going to go ahead and continue to use this one. I know it didn't work very good with the mild steel, but maybe this steel is hard enough. It'll help clear out a little bit better. And we'll see how long it lasts on there. Actually, probably just going to switch this one. Well, I can make one more cut with that. so that one did seem to actually kind of cut faster than the bimetal blades. That's why we don't like the thin blades, and that's why they make these thicker blades, because then if they buck or pinch, then they start to warp. I'm just trying to see if we're losing grit or if it's clogging up, because either one is going to start to cause this blade to fail. But other than that, I'm more than willing to go ahead and keep trying this thing and see what the limits of this carbide grit actually are. Since we're starting to get to a little thicker piece of steel, I'm going to go ahead and switch this around so we can keep everything fair and even. Now again, we're going to be doing tool steel, high-grade tool steel. We already cut this softer steel with the blade already, 3/4 inch right here. This is going to be your higher grade tool steel, 54 to 58 Rockwell hardness scale. So far, these have cut this steel, but they are pretty much trash by the time they're done because the teeth are just about filed off of there. So that definitely cut it the fastest by far. I'm starting to look for any damage, and we can see, let's see if I can get something to look at and poke with here. We can begin to see a chip and a fairly significant chip off of that right there and there. So now as we start moving into these harder alloys, we're going to really start seeing these things take abuse, and that's what I was afraid of. With the carbide, is it actually chipping out of there? But at what point it fails, we don't know. But that definitely cut that hard steel faster than anything else, by far. And we got the carbide strip blade here. This is the smaller TPI, smaller tooth per inch. I'm actually probably going to have to move this out a little bit. With tool grade steel, this was a wrench at one point in time. Very nice cutting. Let's see what we got here. So again, same with the larger one, we are starting to get some chipping right in there. But we still have lots of good teeth to cut with. And it's a very hard carbide, so I think it's still going to continue to cut for a while as we go through the testing here. Okay, so we got a file here. I just want to see if this thing can do anything. That was really cool. We're able to use the outer teeth here. I mean, this blade is completely trashed now. You can see it's blue. And most all the carbide has been broken and chipped off of there. But it did cut it. I mean, this is a super hard piece of steel. This is a piece of steel that's designed to file, regular steel. So I don't know exactly what it would be on the Rockwall hardness scale rating. It'd probably be at the higher end of a tool steel. So I'm guessing it would be in that 58, maybe even pushing 60 range for the Rockwall hardness scale test. But that's pretty cool. That's a bad blade. That's a bad blade to cut through that. This stuff would just be completely toast and trashed long ago. I mean, this blade is trashed, but it did cut through before it got trashed. Not to mention, this is the blade that we've been using the entire time. We've cut steel, mild steel, hard steel. We've been cutting wrenches, 3/4 inch steel, square, solid, drill bits, all kinds of stuff. So I'm super impressed with these. Even though this one is gone now, it sure has done a whole lot before we were actually able to destroy it. Okay, so we're going to do some spring steel. Common leaf spring steel is going to be in that 58 to 62 Rockwall hardness scale rating. We did get a new blade for this one, and I'm actually going to put some lubrication on here because we've already seen that it'll cut. These things will cut just about anything. I just kind of want to try it how I would do it with a little bit of lubrication and actually see if we can get this to last quite a bit longer here and not just completely get smoked. So what I want to do is put some of this cut it paste on here and smear it around, and then I'll have some of that to continue to put on it as we go forward. This. Try and get some of this up in here. Get it back on the blade itself. It's kind of hot for it to stick, but that is what is nice about this stuff, is it does kind of stick to it to some degree. Okay, so very cool stuff. It's a little hard to tell if we had some chipping just because of the lubrication we put on there. It's kind of gumming things up to see, but it looks like one, two, three, nope, just one, two. It looks like we had 2 teeth chip cutting through this leaf spring steel. That's great. I mean, any of these other, regular steel blades are just going to completely get toasted doing something like that. Just do a quick little comparison here. Dump that out. Like if you just get one of these regular old run-of-the-mill blades here, and this is the exact same blade as these thicker ones, it's just thinner, that's all. We can dip this in some goo as well. the teeth are gone. Gone, gone, gone. So, and you get that far. The other one, cut all the way through right away. So that's the difference. It wouldn't have made any difference if it was a thicker. All it is extra steel up here. There's absolutely no difference when it just it makes it so you don't jam the blade as much. That's about all. Here we got our piece of file. The carbide blade was able to cut this, and because it's extra super hard, the diamond's going to too. So this one started to heat up at the end pretty good. You can see it started to blue right in here, and it started to get the blade a little blue too. But the diamond holding up well, cutting through these hardened steels and these alloys, extremely nice. That's a real good cut right there. So if you have something super hard, one of these real super hard alloys, diamond blade is going to cut it, and it's going to cut it fairly well. It's just not going to cut mild steel. Alright, so after doing all this testing, we really get to see what blades work on what and why. And usually the brand doesn't really matter. There's Diablo, Milwaukee, Lennox, they're all putting out a pretty good quality product for the most part. The only one that seemed to have the most advantages, clearly an advantage, are the Milwaukee Axe, simply because of this tooth design. You can see it clearly beat. I mean, we beat the crap out of this stuff, cutting metal and stone and all the stuff that it's not designed to do on purpose to see how it holds up. And you can see that it definitely, this thin hook tooth design is far not as good as the Milwaukee design here. So that was a distinct advantage. Most of these bimetal blades, I mean, if you have a Lennox and you have a Diablo or the Torch from Milwaukee, that's going to be, you're going to get roughly the same. I mean, it's not going to be a huge significant amount of difference like we saw with this one here. Biggest thing to remember is if you need thin cutting, you're going to cut like maybe circles or something like that in wood or drywall. Your thinner blades are better. But these thicker blades disperse the heat more on these bimetal blades. So they're going to last longer, and they're also not going to jam and buck and bend nearly as bad as these thinner blades. We could see that pretty obvious with like this one right here. If this was a nice thick blade like these, it would have held up a little bit better. What was interesting to see was where the diamond shined and where the carbide abrasive shined. They cut, but they take a long time to do it. So it is nice to be able to, I would say it would be a good idea to have some of these in your toolkit. And the diamond took longer as well, but it was the only one to cut the actual hardest thing, which was the drill bit at a 66 Rockwell hardness scale. That was the only thing that actually managed to cut that and cut it cleaner than anything else. When is that going to be an application for you? I don't know why you need to cut a drill bit in half or some steel that hard, but at least we know it does it. The new players in the game are the carbide tipped, and that's where I got to really see what happens here when I wanted to see what carbide did versus carbide, because these are both carbide, but this is a carbide tooth and this is a carbide grit. The carbide grit was obviously very slow, and I was super impressed by these blades. The only problem seemed to be that the carbide would break. That's carbide's only issue, is that it's extremely strong, extremely durable, super hard material. Its downfall is that it's brittle. It deals with the heat better than anything else. Any other kind of steel deals with the heat great. The heat doesn't really affect it and break it down like it does these bimetal blades. However, getting it on a product and getting it to where we can use it properly seems to be the issue. These blades would last longer because the carbide is a grit than these, and that seemed to be the main problem, is that the carbide would just shatter and shear off of there. And then of course this one right here, you know, this thing did really well right up until, because this one is a solid strip, and these have individual pieces of carbide brazed onto each tooth. When this flexes, it doesn't affect the cutting edge. However, when this one flexed, when it got hot, you can see it got hot right here, then the metal backing it flexed. And when it flexed, because it's one solid piece of carbide with little teeth in it instead of the individual chunks, that's when this blade broke down and failed. So when you see this one at the store, keep that in mind. This blade will cut, but if you get any kind of binding or flexing, it's not going to hold up, and then the entire blade is going to be destroyed and you're not going to have anything to cut with. So Diablo's the only one that I know of right now that actually is infusing the carbide into their blades. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, as of right now, I'm not buying any more bimetal blades whatsoever. At the end of the day, that's what's going to stay in my SawZall, and that's what's going to stay in my bag. They come in different sizes. You can get the little ones, this here, all the way up to the big 9-inch ones right here. But they just do everything. It's the best all-around SawZall blade that I could see. It's going to cut your cast iron. It's going to cut steel, mild. That was the other issue with the carbide grit, is that if you cut something softer like aluminum or even the mild steel, it begins to plug this up, and then it starts to generate heat, and then it's going to start breaking down the blade. That's not what you want to have happen. These were able to cut through that and not gum up, because there's a much larger space right here. Did the axe cut through wooded nails slightly faster? Yeah, it did. But you're going to have these and these if you want to use that. I can only see that these would be the best all-around blade for me, because they do everything well. I'm also going to keep some of these and the diamond ones just in case you get into something rough and maybe you break all the teeth off. At least you'll have something for backup. But if you have a diamond, if you got a carbide grit, and you got one of these carbide tooth blades, or a couple of them, you're gonna last a whole lot longer, and that should cut just about anything. I'm really not even gonna waste my money on bimetal blades anymore, simply because, unless I need to make a fine cut, I guess. But hopefully they'll go back to the drawing board on this one. That one did not seem to work out that well. And for what I saw today, as impressive as these were, you can bet that Milwaukee and Lennox are going to be coming out with something similar to this in the very near future. If I had any suggestions or if I could see anything done different, the way these started to break down was the carbide breaking off, and due to impact, because this is a very violent action. It's a very powerful machine, and it's a rough cut, gouge, I mean, rough and tumble, get it done type of thing. So if they could somehow combine the cutting power of the grit and put some grit, the carbide or even diamond grit, behind the carbide teeth in here, I don't know exactly how that would all work out, but if they could impregnate the steel with carbide up in here, then once the teeth failed and the carbide had failed in the teeth, you would still have something to back you up to get that job done and get it finished. that would combine the best of both worlds, where you're going to have that fast action cutting for the softer metals and wood, and you're going to have that super hard backup plan. So I think there's still some evolving that needs to go on with these, and hopefully between the other two companies we'll be able to see that. But as far as I can tell right now, the best blade at the store is this one right here. That's what's going in my bag, and until I see something better, that's where I'm going to stand. So I hope that helps you guys. I hope that helps you pick something at the hardware store, and opened your mind to some other things that you know, we didn't really try before or haven't seen before. And if you got one of these, you can cut just about anything. That's what we found out. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We're going to do lots more tool reviews. We're going to do something similar to this with hole saws coming up soon. So stay tuned, subscribe, hit the like button, share this with Facebook, G+, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, and help your buddies out and help them see what they need to see to pick what they need to pick at the hardware store. Thanks a lot.